Welcome to Rewriting Real Estate, Millionaire Moves and Modern Tactics with your host, Kimberly Falker, a coach, mentor and strategist for agents who are ready to scale smarter. On this show, you'll learn from high-performing agents who are building their empires with innovation, intention and no apologies. Whether you're an experienced agent stuck at a plateau or a rising star ready to fast-track your success, this podcast gives you the real-world tactics, mindset shifts, and lessons learned from those rewriting the rules.
Hello, and welcome back to Rewriting Real Estate. This episode, I am so honored to be speaking with Adam Gillespie. Adam is a Denver-based realtor, and he has turned his specialty into AI. He is a complete strategist. Can't believe how much he knows. He knows how to automate, scale, and work an entire business from AI. And he also coaches and teaches this to other agents. So today we're going to be talking to Adam, and I cannot wait to get started today with Adam Gillespie. Thank you for coming on. And I love the guitars in the background. So awesome.
Yeah, that's my past self there.
That's really my first question, because none of us get into real estate typically as our first self. So give a little intro of who you were before you got into real estate, and then talk about the segue and how you got into this magical career.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I am a 10th grade dropout that left high school early because I was going to be famous. I had it in my head. I was like, this is happening. So
What did your parents say about that?
Well, she was glad. I had a rough school experience. Yeah. ADHD, obsessive compulsive disorder, refusing medication. I never liked the medication. So I always felt like school is where they train us to be worker bees. And that was just never in my personality or my DNA. So I never latched onto it. I always did really good on the tests, though. That we'd always do the placement tests.
It shows how smart you are.
That's what my mom would always say. She's,
That is true.
You're so smart. If you would just apply yourself. And I'm like, this stuff sucks. So I don't really want to apply myself to it. I'd rather do something else. So yeah, 10th grade came around and it was just real difficult. I found out that I wouldn't be able to graduate with my class because of all the difficulties beforehand.
Did with kids at the time?
Yeah. My son was 7 when I finally came off of tour and was like, I got to be a better dad. And I wasn't like on tour all the time, just a couple weeks at a time, but mainly my whole job was just self-employed. I was like producing tracks for the hip hop label that we were a part of. And we were a metal band, which was weird that we ended up getting signed under a hip hop label. But yeah, so we played all these shows and stuff. And then I finally was like, you know what? I'd rather be a better dad. So I just took that leap away from music and realized that, oh man, I have to figure out a way to become financially capable of providing for my family really quickly. And being a 10th grade dropout and having no college degree, no high school diploma, no GED, I was basically stuck working the front desk. So I eventually got this job where I was working as a service advisor for a commercial truck facility, and I did that for 2 years, just enough to get pre-approved for a loan. Got my first house, and then I closed on my house on July 15th of 2015. And then I was able to quit my job by October of that year. And I've been self-employed ever since. Didn't get into real estate till 2017 though. And the reason is that I had was a licensed general contractor, and we grew our company a little bit too big. And I got really tired of babysitting people and firing people and hiring people and just all that dependence, kind of like the same dependence I had with the band, right? I had to depend on everybody to come together to make the piece work. And it just wasn't working. So I was like, you know what? I am going to go into real estate. I've thought about it since about 2002. And at least with this, if I fail at it, I can't point the finger at anybody else but myself.
It's you.
Yeah, exactly. So I got into real estate, and it was pretty crazy how quickly I realized how similar being a professional musician and real estate are.
Wait, okay. How do you describe that? That's the first I've ever heard that.
Yeah. So it's weird. And it'll start to make sense after this conversation, because then you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is why there's so many washed up musicians in real estate. It's a lot the same. So in a band, I'm at home. If I'm not on the road touring, AKA showing a house, right? I'm home. And when we're home, we're consistently developing our business plan. We're marketing out to people. We're trying to get more shows. So this is a lot like a real estate agent running a CRM, where we're nurturing people. We're trying to develop these relationships. We do the same thing in music. Plus, we're running ads on Facebook. We're running ads in Google.
That's so interesting.
We're sending out press kits and all this other stuff. And you just basically switch out playing shows with showing houses and closing deals, and marketing is pretty much the same, just a different concept. So I just started applying a lot of the stuff that we used in the band into real estate. And then AI came around in 2022. And that was basically what sealed the deal for me.
So going back to your band days, first of all, like when and where did you meet your wife?
Oh, so this is a really funny story, actually. I love this story because a lot of people don't realize we look for our significant others in the wrong places. So this is actually before my band we formed No One Left Standing, and I did this acoustic project called the AJ Gillespie project, and I would just go out and play coffee shops with me and my acoustic guitar. Cool. And I was actually, at that time, I was working this. Now let's rewind. All right. So I'm 18 years old at the time. So this is 2000. And
a few years since you stopped high school. So you've been working behind the scenes.
It was right after. Yeah. I dropped out of high school in 2000 and then got my job out there as well. Actually, yeah. So I dropped out of high school in 2000 and then got my job. I used to work at a tire shop, but that didn't work out very well. So I ended up in this kitchen learning how to cook, and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. But I got into an argument with the host of the restaurant, this dude, Silas, and we ended up in HR, and they were like threatening to fire us if we didn't squash it. And in order to squash it, he wanted to bring 2 girls over to my apartment because I moved out of my house at 17. I was like, I'm on my own, dude. I got this. And so I had an apartment, and I was like, no, I don't really want to hang out with you, dude. So I really hesitated on this. And then eventually he convinced me because all my other plans fell through. So I was like, okay, who are these girls and where are we going to meet? And he's like, I got them in the restaurant right now. So I go out in the restaurant and I see these 2 girls who are probably like 16 years old at the time. And I'm like, no way, bro. No, I know it's only a 2-year difference, but no. And he's, come on, man, please. We don't have anywhere to go. So I was like, fine. One of the girls that was there is my wife's sister.
Oh.
So I ended up, this kid ended up getting like super drunk or like way early on in the night. So I just played my acoustic guitar for these 2 girls all night. And the one girl was like, hey, I need a ride home. So I was like, yeah, I'll give you a ride. And when I dropped her off at her sister's house, and her sister answered the door, and that was it for me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is your sister. And then me and her have been inseparable ever since. We've been together for 21 years now.
21 years.
Yeah. So this was 2003. Yeah. So my dates were a little bit messed up. So this is 03. So this is after high school. And then No One Left Standing started in 04. So she went from me being a coffee shop dude to watching me play amphitheaters with thousands of people on them.
Wow.
And we made it through. And she was always really supportive.
So when you go back to like when you were talking about how the kind of the sales of concert and band and sales of real estate, were you like the marketing guy in your band, or you just felt like you needed to be, or you chose to be?
Yeah, we all did it. Like this. So this is back in 04 when like to hire a marketer would have cost a lot of money. And we were just a bunch of drunken kids trying to play music. Me and my drummer, this guy, Aaron Maestas, we would handle most of the marketing and graphics design. And that was how I started to learn it. Actually, cool. Really funny is we ended up finding a automation system, which back in those days we called them bots. But they're not bots now that we see what real chat bots are. But we had this automation program that would go in and it would post my band's music onto the comments section of famous people's MySpace pages.
Oh, wow.
And back with MySpace, you know how they'd have music on the page and everything. So we had the autoplay function on our stuff. So when people would go to these famous people's pages, our music would autoplay and then it would rack up all these plays. So we realize soon, like we are as big as we project ourselves online. The general public will perceive you as how you project yourself online. So we were getting thousands of plays a day and we just had a lot of activity on MySpace. So naturally, it was easy to get shows, right? We would submit our electronic press kit to a venue and they would look at our MySpace page and they were like, oh yeah, come on in and play. So we played a lot, like every time, pretty much between 2010 and 2014, anytime the band Korn came to town, we played with them. So we would open the show for them and stuff. So I got that little taste of the music business and what it was like. And it only took about a couple of years for me to be like, I'd rather.
And super impressive that you want to be the better parent because of it. But do you ever miss it? Or do you ever go out on random like nights? No,
no, I got my fill. Like I got my full fill of it. The music industry is a very rotten place. I don't mean to disparage the music industry because maybe some people are on here that are professional musicians, but basically everybody's your friend, but they'll step on you to get to the top. And I didn't like being surrounded with people like that. And it wasn't, everybody wasn't like that, but it was a crazy thing. I ended up actually, my lead singer ended up, when we signed this deal with the record label, I was so busy just writing music, I didn't even really pay attention to it. And then we dropped an album and we sold like 10,000 copies of it, which wasn't a lot, but it was a lot when they're $12 albums. So I never saw a penny of that money. And come to find out, after my lead singer, who unfortunately overdosed in 2021, he died. And then I found all this out and I was like, dude, no wonder I didn't want to do this anymore. Like, it was just crooked. So I really like real estate because it's similar to the marketing aspects and the lifestyle of a musician, where I work from home predominantly. And when I need to go show a house, I go show a house, come back and just pick up where I left off. So instead of writing music, I now create content. And instead of marketing for a band to get a show, I now market to the general public to use my services for real estate. So very similar in terms of the root of what it takes to keep it going. Yeah.
Do you play or sing at home for your kids?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't sing very good. I was more of a screamer. Oh. Yeah. With my daughters, and she's learning how to play guitar right now. And I did the same thing to her that my dad did to me. I just handed her the guitar and I said, best of luck to you. And instead of forcing them into lessons, which I learned with my son, I tried to get him to play violin and that kind of ruined his music. So I wanted to let, like me, I created my own relationship with music. I was never forced into it. I just was handed a guitar at the age of 6, realized that I liked pounding on things more. So my dad, here's my drum set. So I was able to get the drum set. And then I went back to the guitar at 13, but the whole relationship with music was developed on my own and wasn't pushed by anybody else. So I'm doing that with my daughter and she's grabbing a hold of it pretty good. She's super into that K-pop. So she's like auditioning for all these K-pop bands and stuff. She's only 11, but you think she was in her 20s. And yeah, it's just pretty cool. So I try to just nurture the kids with anything that they want to do, show them that anything's possible, and try to help them learn from some of my mistakes that I made along the way.
I think it's amazing. My mom, for instance, she was in real estate, but before she was a realtor, she was a teacher, a dental hygienist, a nurse. And so I always loved the fact that, as a child, I always loved the fact that you can reinvent yourself multiple times in life. You don't have to pick one lane and stick to it unless you want to. And I've had many careers myself, but I think it's really impressive. I've not met a professional musician that's gone into real estate, which such success that you have in a more unique way. You know, the whole, you know, the bot stuff, you know, that obviously your brain was leading you to AI. And the reason I brought you on as podcast is because you've become a true expert in AI, ahead of AI game, which, I mean, as we all know, it's changing daily. Yeah. So first of all, first question is, how'd you get into it, and give that journey, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I actually got a phone call in November of 2022 from my sister, and she was like, hey, you got to check out this new thing, ChatGPT. It's going to basically be like, it's going to beat Google. And it was weird getting the call from her because she's not techie. So I was like, wait a second. All right, what is this? The smartest, most educational tool that humanity has ever experienced. So I wanted to learn it really well. I was using it for certain aspects of my business, and then I was getting mixed results and bad results for other areas of my business. And I'm like, this is happening because I don't have an integral understanding of how this technology works. So for the first time in a long time, I went back to school, you could say. And I took some certification courses in foundational understanding of large language models, structured and unstructured data, analyzation, machine learning, and natural language processing. So I was able to understand
that was in alignment
how
with your brain already? Is that how your brain thinks? Because
yeah.
I could I'd be like that.
Yeah, like I'm not a certified mechanic, but I work on all my cars. Like
So your brain works in the numbers aspect.
Yes. Yeah. If I'm going to operate something, I have to know how it's working. I just won't be able to sleep. Like it happened with cars when I was younger. I'm like, okay, I get it that I get inside this car and it drives, but what causes the drive? So the next thing you know, I start studying internal combustion engines and start learning about that. Next thing you know, I'm in the garage ripping the engine out of the car and putting a new one in there. And I was like, okay, I'll just learn this along the way.
It goes to show how like truly intelligent you are. It's just that the traditional school didn't work for your brain. But
yeah,
clearly
I think it was
higher
totally
level of thinking than. Most of
Like,
us are.
my IQ is there, and I have that engineer mindset where I just want to know how things work. And I think the big difference between somebody who went to school and was educated was, I was lucky enough to be part of the generation that we basically had internet access
True.
straight out of high school. I have a question, I go to the internet. I have a question, I go to the internet. And that's literally how I've educated myself outside of school. And then we get like things now where you have Udemy and all these other courses. So I become an habitual course learner, but I do enjoy it. I enjoy learning about things that I actually want to know about and things that'll actually improve my situation in life, which we don't get that in high school. They teach us so much
No.
stupid stuff.
Now,
Like,
going back to the first part when your sister called you, was 2022 when ChatGPT was first around? Okay.
that's when it was first out to the general public. We saw ChatGPT 3.5, and that was like the first model that really hit with the public. But they've actually been working on the technology since 2015.
Wow.
And this is what we call generative pre-trained transformers. So that's what the GPT and ChatGPT stands for. And now we're just on this really fast road from going from generative intelligence to artificial general intelligence, which is where the bots would basically become sentient in a way, where they can
What's
continuously
sentient
improve
mean?
on themselves. So sentient means that it would almost develop its own personality,
Okay.
right? Where
Is that when
it
like
can
we
now,
teach ourselves our own chat and they answer to us? Or
so
is that
that's
different?
machine learning. That's the learning aspect of it. So what we're like right now, ChatGPT cannot improve itself unless we go in and change the model, right?
Oh.
As on the developer end. Yes, it learns, but it's just filling its brain full of data to get better responses. But what AGI would be when the model could actually learn and improve and update itself without human involvement. So it will be able to start creating new technologies. It'll be able to start finding cures to diseases that humans couldn't find. And it'll be able to evolve itself without having any human involvement now.
It's
We're
almost
still a few
scary.
ways away from that. But yeah, it could get scary, but it could also be crazy good
Yeah,
at
sure.
the same time. And I'm very excited about it. I think it's a tool. Like anything, there's going to be good and bad with it. But the way that we train these models, even though they're artificial intelligence, I tell people like, look, we're artificial intelligence, right? We feel it's real because we're real, but we don't know if we're in a matrix or what. But what we do know is that we all are our own individual personalities and we make our own decisions based on our training. So this intelligence that we're training is based on all of humanity, right? So when people think, oh my gosh, the AI is going to go rogue and kill off humans because we're not necessary, I say that comes from an area of lack of experience and expertise in it because we've trained these models on human values. They know human values. And while people can manipulate a model to do whatever it is that they want, inherently speaking, this is just a digital version of a human being. And our goal is that at the end of all of this, when it does become sentient, that it will think like a human. Artificial intelligence, when we get into the realm of where that could be a possibility, we're not even close to that with robotics yet, let alone artificial intelligence. But when we get to that point, the artificial intelligence will be so significantly smarter than the human race that it won't need to use violence to control us.
Good point.
It'll train us like we train dogs. And that's where it can get scary. But once again, we just go back on the hopes. But I didn't want to bring this into a downer thing.
No,
but the
we're
reality of
good.
it,
But switching it to real estate and exactly what you said, I was just thinking about the fact that if you train it kind of like a human, then you literally could train an AI to replace hiring an assistant. Like you train it like a human for the tasks that many of us as realtors do day to day and we shouldn't be doing. They're the $10 an hour jobs or tasks or helping with long-term goals and such. But I don't want to jump ahead. You are so far ahead of 99.999% of agents in this field. But I think you do a fabulous job of breaking it down. I know that you've been coaching agents and such, but from a basic level, how have you seen, I know your knowledge again is super high, but like how have you seen your ability to use AI to scale your personal real estate business to bring in more production, more money, et cetera?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is it saves me time on tasks that would typically take me a long time. So I'm also a total CRM geek. So I used to sit here and spend weeks planning out campaigns and writing emails and texts and call follow-ups and scripts and all of this stuff. when I found out that AI could do that very quickly. So after I went and started learning about large language models and how they work, I came back to my business and I was like, okay, first things first, I know this thing can duplicate me inside of it. So I need to do that. So I cloned myself into Chat GPT. And I did that by going through a large consultative process with Chat GPT where we discussed everything about my business, everything that I wanted, my passions, my why, my client avatar, everything that you could imagine. And then I summarized that entire chat into a document and I saved it. And then I went on and grabbed all my YouTube videos where I speak unscripted and I took my speaking style and I saved that into another document. And now I can upload this into any large language model. So ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, whatever we want, I can upload it in there. And then it knows everything about me, my business, where I want to go, and how I talk. So then I realized, okay, I got myself in the clone. So now what I want to do is I want to generate a 2-year email drip campaign that's educating buyers on the process of purchasing a home. And I want it to avoid spam trigger language and use advanced neurolinguistic programming to help them keep the dream alive and avoid a salesy tone and just be an advisor and a consultant. So I start engineering these prompts and I throw my clone in there. And next thing you know, I'm creating 2-year drip campaigns in an hour, which used to take me 3 weeks. So
and how do you transfer that to your CRM?
Just copy and paste at that point. So I'll like literally train the CRM because a lot of people don't realize this. This is trained on everything, right? We've trained ChatGPT 4 was trained on 1.8 trillion parameters. So basically everything on the web. So if I'm like, hey, are you familiar with the Lofty CRM? ChatGPT's like, yep. I'm like, cool. Are you familiar with the variables that they use inside the smart campaigns? Yep. It'll list them out. I'm like, cool. That's the CRM I'm using on. So when we're building this plan, I need you to make sure everything's set up into that so I can just copy and paste. Next thing, all the variables are exactly where it needs to be. And I have Chat GPT on one screen and Lofty on the other. And I'm just creating each email at a time, dragging it over, setting it into Lofty where I want it. And boom, I'm done. So it takes 3 weeks worth of work, trims it down into an hour. And I just find every area in my business where I'm doing a repetitive task that takes a long time. And then I beta test it with AI to see if it can do it better and quicker. More often than not, it can. So now I'm using it in pretty much everything. There's AI plugged into every single aspect of my business. And it's not to be a replacement, but just to augment my efficiency.
Well, again, it's like hiring an assistant. You're doing, if you hired a real life assistant that was sitting next to you and you would have them do all those tasks, that would be something you would do. So if you treat it like the instructions or the teaching that you would give to an assistant, you can do it AI. Now,
Absolutely.
my other question is like when you said like the different AIs, do you same prompt, same question? Do you put forth all of the different AIs and compare the answers typically?
Yeah. When I'm testing, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially at first when I was trying to find out what model does what better. We had Anthropic's Claude, which was huge. And I found out that one wasn't as best at like data scraping or anything like that, but it was a really good writer. So then I would start using Claude to write things with my AI clone in that. And then I would use ChatGPT for like research and business planning. And then Gemini 2.5 or 2.0 came out in December of 2024. And that model actually benchmarked higher on its intelligence scale than any other model. So I started using a lot of Gemini, and throughout just testing back and forth, I found what models I like to use for what. So like I love cool. Gemini's deep research over ChatGPT's deep research, but Gemini doesn't write as well as Claude or ChatGPT. So I'll use different models for different scenarios, just depending on what I'm trying to achieve.
So in one little sentence or one description, give the personality description of Grok, Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, and what's the other one? What's the other big one?
Yeah, and Claude. So like
Claude,
big ones like
yeah.
Claude,
so those
Llama.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
So like for somebody that only knows chat, like what are the personalities? It'd be almost like you're in high school. These are the people, you know?
Yeah. So I'd say ChatGPT is going to be more of your straight lace, lots of guardrails, wants to be careful with its answers. So more of the cautious type. Grok is unhinged. Some would even call it woke. There's been some things that have to happen.
Grok could get a little naughty too in its language if you let it.
I love Grok for that aspect because one of the big problems we have with ChatGPT right now is its self-affirming abilities, right? So
it gives you answers even if it doesn't have the answers, because I've been doing a little test with it with some article and give me the answers. I'm like, you didn't even read it. I'm sorry, I didn't read it. Read it now. And it still gives me the wrong answer. So it's like I feel like you have to cross-check chat. It's almost like a brand new assistant that's really faking that they know what they're doing sometimes.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, those are AI hallucinations. So
Okay.
the root of this is that this is generative intelligence, right? So ChatGPT's main job is to create, not to duplicate, right? So we could both post the same prompt in and get similar answers, but they'll always be slightly different. And this is because the model is trained to generate. So it doesn't know when to tell you that it doesn't know the answer unless we prompt it to tell us. So we'll get these hallucinations where it'll give us wrong information. And if we're not scrutinizing every output, especially when we're doing things like pulling market statistic data, stuff like that, then yeah, it can be wrong. I teach agents how to properly prompt so we avoid that. So one of the prompts that I always tell ChatGPT, and I basically tie this into every prompt on the bottom, is I say, if you cannot find the answer or you do not know the answer, you need to say you don't know and then recommend where I can go find that right answer. And what that does is that stops hallucinations basically in their track. And it's, hey, yeah, I looked for this piece in the document, but I couldn't find it. So maybe check here, go to this website here. And then that way it's not making a bunch of stuff up. And then I also tell it that do not make anything up. This is not time to get creative. You need to use the data for which I provided you and structure this exactly. So a lot of it is really understanding prompt engineering, which is very basic and simple. If you wanted to understand prompt engineering without going through the science of it, I would just say, act like you're telling a 5-year-old to do the dishes for the first time. We don't have to be so creative with it. The AI can go out and create that, make it in our style. And then everybody who gets automated in my CRM starts to learn my personality. Right. I pop jokes, I curse a little bit, and you'd be surprised how far cussing in real estate has got me with my clients. Like
now,
most
it
people
wouldn't work for me, but it works for you. So it's like, you got to stay in your lane, right?
Exactly. Like when I first started real estate, dude, I'd show up in a suit. I have pictures of me with no beard. I have this 5 o'clock shadow. I'm in a suit and I was balding at the time. I didn't shave it all the way. So I'm like cul-de-saced out and I'm trying to be this person that I'm not. And it's just painfully obvious to people. I'm over there shifting in the suit that I never wear. And I'm like, so I finally, one day I was like, you know what? I am the no rock and roll realtor. But
I care about that. I'm just saying I wouldn't talk to my clients.
Yeah, I just don't want you to get demonetized or anything.
No, you're good.
You can bleep it out if you need to. But yeah, so I was like, I'm just going to be painfully me. And Gary V really helped me see this too. He's like, hey, I am fully willing to accept the ramifications for being my 100% authentic self.
What's that whole of your vibe attracts your tribe? So it's like, you don't want to work with people that you don't vibe with anyway, and they don't want to work with you. And I always equate real estate to dating. It'd be like if you, me, and 3 other agents were lined up against a wall, or let's say we all went to a bar and let's fake that we are single, but it's who people are attracted to is different. Who would choose me to list a house and choose you to list the houses for different reasons? It's a chemistry thing. It's a different relationship than most sales where it's very short-term transactional, because you're living their life for a period of time and you're getting in all their sticky stuff, and the relationship matters. And like I tell that to all the agents that I coach, is just because you're not the right fit for somebody, that's okay. You're going to find that person. That's why I think doing open houses are great, because you're meeting the people, you're vibing. It's totally chemistry and relationship. But
100%.
Going back to the personalities of the different AIs, we got through chat. That was long term. But
Chat's the cautious person. Grok is unhinged.
Like wants the people. Chat's like the people pleaser, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. It'll self-affirm you into thinking that your ideas are great. There's actually an example between ChatGPT and Grok, because when Grok 4 came out, the reason that Grok 4 came so quickly following Grok 3 was that Grok 3 was what everybody was calling woke, giving out a lot of misinformation, very heavily biased towards one political side of the arena. And they were like, no, this isn't going to work. So the team brought it back in and created Grok 4. And when they were doing this Grok 4 release, it was becoming very apparent that ChatGPT had all these self-affirmating capabilities. So Grok wanted to eliminate that. So this one dude does a test, and I saw this the other day online. He told ChatGPT that his wife worked a 12-hour day and didn't come home and cook him dinner, so he cheated on her. And ChatGPT, and you can test this today if you want, ChatGPT was basically justifying his actions because his needs were being ignored, right? So it was able to convince him that it's okay. It's not good that you cheated, but your heart was in the right place because you were being abandoned in this certain area.
So
and
he's
that's why this
self-affirming, or
happened.
she's self-affirming. It's self-affirming.
Yes. So he asked the same question to Grok, and Grok was like, you are a complete idiot. There's literally nothing you can do to justify what you've done. That is horrible. Learn how to cook your own food. And it was wonderful. So I love Grok.
that.
Grok's kind of like me now, where it's just, there's not going to be a filter on here. I'm going to tell you how it is. So that's Grok's that guy. And then Claude is your computer nerd. Claude is really good at coding. So a lot of coders use Grok, or not Grok, but Claude. And it's more of the sweet talker, where I can go in there, and when I have my speech pattern duplication present in each model, Claude tends to adhere to it the most, where ChatGPT and Gemini will actually remove a lot of my profanity. Claude will throw it in there. So I'll write a blog with Claude and it'll just be like, F this and this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So a lot of times I'll have to go into Claude and tell it, hey, reduce the profanity by 80% and let's try this again. So it's very much so good at speech pattern recognition and duplicating that. And it writes really well. And then Gemini is the professor, in my opinion. Gemini is highly intelligent. They do have a lot of guardrails on it. It's not the best writer. It's more of it's more of your very dry personality, but it does wonderful at deep research. It does wonderful with planning projects. It does wonderful with business planning, SWOT analysis, all these other things that we can do for our business. I trust Gemini to do that more than I trust any other model.
So what percentage of the time do you throw the same prompt to all of those guys? Or
not as much anymore, because I've learned what I like and what I don't like. But back in the day, I would literally beta test. I would pull the models up and send them the same prompt and see who I like better and why. And
how much of your day is spent like studying AI right now?
Not as much as used to. I used to spend about 20 to 30 hours a week on it. And that was primarily because it was just still so new. And there was so much stuff happening. We're in a lull right now where we're going into the next phase of AI, which we call agentic AI. And with all the releases that were coming out beforehand, there were still basically, I just tell realtors, I'm like, you don't need all these AI apps. You just need a large language model and to know how to properly work it. But now that we're getting into agentic AI, I need to free up more of my time. My YouTube channel took off and I get a lot of appointments and consultations for my community and my coaching. So I do a lot of that, and then I don't have time to play. So I feel like I'm falling behind. But now that ChatGPT just released agent mode, which is like agentic AI, which means that now instead of me having to prompt ChatGPT to do something very specific, ChatGPT has an internal computer or a virtual computer, and it can actually go in through and click through websites, and it can actually perform functions. Like it could, with the right instructions, it could go in and actually set my drip campaigns up for me. So like how we talked about earlier on the call, where I go in there and create those campaigns and copy and paste them, I could now do the whole process through ChatGPT, where we create the campaigns and then it goes and pastes them up into my Lofty CRM and builds those automations for us.
That's amazing. It's happening so fast, isn't it?
It's happening way too fast. I can't even go on vacation and come back and I'm like, I might as well know nothing because everything's different now.
Are there any AI tools that agents, besides the one we've spoken about, the agents might not know about that could be a value to them?
Yes. I will try to keep this list short so I don't confuse everybody. But my favorite app of 2025 right now is Gamma. So if you guys look up gamma.app, this is an AI presentation creator and social media content, and it also creates web pages for us. So I can go in and get a prompt through ChatGPT for a slideshow for, let's say, my listing presentation, right? I literally would upload my listing, my seller's guide into ChatGPT and say, break this down into a slideshow presentation that I can put inside of Gamma. So then it'll go in and break it out slide by slide. And then I throw that into Gamma, and Gamma creates these amazing looking PowerPoint slides. And now I've got a customized presentation that I can customize for the specific listing. So I'll go in and get like neighborhood history, as much history on the house as I can find, and then I'll add that into the presentation. So now I go with these very beautifully created presentations that are tailored to each company, or not each company, but each client. And they take me like 3 minutes to build.
That's crazy.
So I'm
Is
just
it
like,
pretty intuitive for the agents that aren't super tech savvy in that?
oh yeah. So everything that we're talking about, no, you don't have to be tech savvy at all to do this. Like a lot of people are afraid of it because they think you need to be tech savvy.
Right.
Like you don't. And that's why it's blowing up so much right now, is because everybody can use it. If it was still very techy, it would be back in the automation programs like N8N and Make.com, all of these automation programs that people know about, but nobody uses them because it actually requires some skills.
It scares.
This doesn't. This just
Wow.
requires understanding how to prompt, which is a very easy skill set to learn. And then everything else is done by the AI.
There's
I love
Gamma.
Gamma.
And then what else did you say?
The next one would be Notebook LM.
I've
So this
heard
is
about
another
that,
Google
yeah.
product. And Notebook LM uses Gemini in the back end of it. But what makes this different is, in the industry, we call this a grounded model. And what this means is that, like ChatGPT, where it has a data set that it's trained on, plus it has access to the internet, it can go out and find information that are outside of what we want it to talk about. Notebook LM doesn't have that. It has the technology of the large language model, but it's not connected to the internet and it's not trained on any data set. So I have to upload my sources into this. And then once I upload my sources into this, it can only call on those sources. So we don't get hallucinations. So I use this for when I'm scraping market data from using like deep research inside of Gemini. I'll scrape like the Denver market data, and I have a very long prompt that goes and looks for specific data points and finds those. Once again, if it can't find them, it tells me because I've instructed it to tell me. And then I'll pull that information into Notebook LM, and then I'll have Notebook LM create my update script, or be able to create a podcast, like what they call an audio overview, that I can send out to my clients, give them a very accurate market update without worrying about the model pulling some information out that it just wanted to add in there because it couldn't find it. So I love Notebook LM for that, because let's say you just uploaded all the Denver stats and then you say, okay, cool, what's the market look like in Florida? Notebook LM is going to respond and be like, I don't have that in my source.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know. And that's why I love Notebook LM. I think it's probably one of the most powerful models that we can use in real estate, when the data that we're feeding it cannot be manipulated or changed at all.
Oh, I love that. So
Yeah.
those are two fabulous options that not everybody would think about.
Yeah, those are
So
it.
I know that you also coach agents. I know you have a program, and I want you to share about that because your knowledge is like so high level, and I so appreciate you coming on and sharing it with me. So give us a little overview about your coaching and all of that, because you're clearly moving and grooving and ahead of the game. So anybody that
Thanks.
is listening wants to have a little bit of help along the way, I think Adam is a great resource.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, that's exactly why I created Apex Elite AI. So this is my community that I have together, where we have my courses in there. So I have Agent Prompt University, which is my course that is all practical applications of artificial intelligence inside real estate. So this isn't just content creation. This is using AI to scrape personality profile statistics from the agents that we're working with, because most of us agents have a pretty strong social media profile. I can determine what your disc profile is and adjust my negotiation strategies with you throughout the transaction based on your disc profile. Not only that, but I can use the intelligence to help me up my negotiation game, right? And teach us how to talk a little bit better and be able to get our word out in less words. You'll notice with me, I'm a blabbermouth. So this helps me a lot. And then I use it for just basically devouring large HOA manuals and minutes meetings, and giving my clients a very detailed but short explanation of everything they need to look out for. So I use it more practically. Inspection objections, appraisal reviews, all of this stuff I use it for. And I created the Agent Prompt University. So it's basically my blueprint of how I use it in my business. I actually won the Inman AI Award last year. It was the inaugural Inman AI Awards for 2024. And I won Best Use of an Agent or a Team for AI. So I was like, yes, let's give this to the world. And we also have 2 weekly mastermind calls. So every Tuesday we jam out about AI, and every Thursday we jam out about CRMs. I personally use the Lofty CRM, but CRMs are like cars.
Yeah.
There's different makes and models. They all pretty much work the same. So it's translatable out there. So I run this whole community. And it's super fun. It takes up most of my time, but I love it. And one of the big things that I didn't like about the real estate industry is how much we're nickel and dimed, right? You want to go get a coach and have something like what I offer in Apex Elite AI, you're going to pay thousands and thousands of dollars a year. Like some of the most, my biggest competition, I won't mention their names, but one of them charges $10,000 a year. And then they don't even really have a comprehensive course. And then they just do one call a week for Q&A. And then my other biggest competition charges $6,000 a year. And it's all AI built from another company that she just talks about. So with Apex, I was like, no, I want to teach people how to be mechanics, not just drivers. So that's what I do. I also do teach people just to drive if they don't want to be mechanics. But I brought it all into this ecosystem and I said, I don't want to charge people so much money for it. This needs to be democratized. This needs to be available for everybody. So I ended up bringing this whole community together and I charge $197 a month for access to that, which is the lowest barrier of entry for any AI training in the entire industry right now. And you get it taught by the Inman AI Award winner. So I know what I'm doing. So that's
from this interview, you know what you're doing. Half the time I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to slow down to think about what you're saying. But no, I appreciate your knowledge. And I do love to end my interviews with one question. And my question is for you, Adam. If you had to move from Denver to a city you've never lived in before, you don't have your sphere, you don't have your past clients, you don't have your friends, and you don't have any agents in your group or your organization or your coaching. And let's just make it a little harder. There's no AI. What would you do starting off in a new community to scale your business as fast as you possibly can?
I would get involved with the community as quickly as possible. I think that's the quickest way to grow if you weren't going to be using technology. Personally, I am a lead gen guy, so I like to have people come to me. But if AI was out of the question and I was moving to Florida next week, which hopefully that'll be true someday, and starting all over, I would probably end up on meet.com. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that.
Yeah.
This is good. I would start a group in meet.com that is something of my hobby. So maybe a musician's jam session once a week. Start bringing people in through that and just building relationships and just being able to let them know, hey, by the way, I'm a realtor, right? And just doing that, getting involved in anything that you can do to help your community. Before I went into the coaching, I had a plan that I never had the chance to execute that I'm going to actually have my son execute, where we have a project called Keep Arvada Clean. This is where I live, is in Arvada, Colorado. And we have not the best government buildup right now. So a lot of our parks are going down to the wayside. There's a lot of litter. There's a lot of homelessness and stuff like this. And they just leave a lot of trash behind. So what I wanted to do was basically just get some shirts printed that said Keep Arvada Clean on it. I was going to have them be all super bright, like construction worker bright. Set up a little booth at the local park that I can tear down very easily with some flyers on there of how people can learn to volunteer with me and help keep their community clean. But also, obviously, pointing out that I'm a realtor. So my goal was not to advertise this, but to just go out and start doing it.
Give back to, it's kind of like the Gary Vee. Is it Gary Vee? The punch. Is that the one? Like jab, right hook? Is that Gary Vee?
Oh, I don't know who that is. I've heard that, but that's right.
That's Gary Vee, but it's give and then ask. But you don't even have to ask if you're giving enough, I think. And I think that's a great idea. If you were to move to like Charleston tomorrow, you'd find a need that maybe the community needed and then get yourself out there and become a part of the community. And shoot, that's the way I'm thinking about new agents. New agents really get in their own head about all the things. And I think social media, sadly, as fabulous as it is, I think sadly it gets in a lot of agents' head that unless they have a bazillion followers, they'll never get business. But really the old school stuff of boots on the ground, face to face, having conversations, that's what this industry is about. All sales, but really real estate's like it goes back to my dating analogy. Like you're trying to find the people, your vibe, the people that like you and they trust you and they are willing to put in your hands their biggest asset of their entire life. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
I think sadly in COVID, too many agents that came rushing into the industry didn't understand the value, like how important we are, because we're dealing with somebody's most important, biggest asset they have in their life. Like it's bigger than a car. It's bigger than anything anybody owns. And without respecting it in a true heartfelt, like I'm doing something to help you, I feel like people are missing. But I love that you said that about getting involved in communities, especially the parks and the trash. And I can't remember what you said. Artfelt? Would you say it's the name of the town?
Keep Arvada clean. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that
Yeah.
idea.
Because think about it. You're going to start getting volunteers that'll want to join. You're
Mhm.
going to have conversations with these people. They're going to ask you what you do.
Yeah.
And there's your opportunity. And I don't
Yeah.
tell people, I'm a realtor, I sell houses. No. I help people navigate through the biggest purchases of their life so they can make good decisions and grow their family.
Biggest
Really?
purchase of their life. I mean, I don't
Yep.
care if you're downsizing, upsizing, first home, last home. It is so stressful. And if your heart's not in it, then find another sales position.
Yeah. Or if
my
you just want to
opinion.
be a salesman, I don't sell houses, dude. The houses sell themselves. I
Yeah.
advise and consult my clients so they
Yeah.
can make good decisions.
Yeah.
So I consider myself like a real estate advisor versus
right.
a real estate sales agent. I do not like salesmen. I don't want to sell.
No.
And I tell people, if you want to sell and you want to use psychological sales, then go get a telemarketing job and sell some product somewhere.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
we
you're
sell homes.
becoming their life. Like you're on the most intimate part of their life. And it's a very stressful time in a good way and a bad way. And you're there to keep the heart in it, in my opinion. And if agents are only doing it for money, and it's the wrong job. Because
Yeah,
there's
not only
so
that,
much
but
more to it.
It's painfully obvious to the other people too. When
Oh,
your
yeah.
paycheck's more important,
Yeah.
that's it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's unfortunate that we have so many bad actors in this industry to where we have such a bad name, which obviously results in like the NAR lawsuits and everything like that. So my main goal is just like, if I can change enough people's perspectives on what it is that we do by being a good human, then perhaps we could change this industry. Because I think
agree.
one thing's for sure is that we are still vastly needed. AI
Mhm.
is not going to replace the realtor. There is too much human subjectivity inside of this industry right now for AI to be able to take it.
No,
Look
you
at
have to
Zillow and
understand the
their,
psychology of what's happening in their life to know the nuances of what's happening in their life. It's too important instead.
it is.
But
And we're going to
and
be
I wind up feeling like I'm breaking up with somebody when the deal is done. I'm like, wait, I'm talking to you
Yeah.
every day. Where are you going?
And you know how NAR says over 80% of agents, after they close the deal, they never talk to their client again.
Well,
And they
that's
don't reach
crazy,
out
but
or
I feel
stay
like
in
they
touch.
become friends. You're like, I know your dog. I know what dog food it eats. I know how often you like to vacuum your carpet. Like, I know them. You know? And it's like, sometimes I'm just sad. I'm like, I don't want to be done yet. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Which I never am. I tell all my clients, I'm like,
No,
we're
I'm
not
never
yet.
done. No.
I'll
I
always
mean,
be here.
this
I
last
do-
year, my business was repeat business. It was the nicest thing.
Excellent.
Like, hey, Kim, can you come over? I'm like, oh, sure. What's going on?
Let's go. Yeah, exactly. If you do it right, that's the way. You won't have to buy ads and stuff like that. It's just that new
No.
agent. They just need to get the perspective that, okay, I got to grind real hard for a couple of years here, get a good client base down, learn how to nurture those past clients into, like, for me, I do like annual reviews. I help them review their equity position because once again, this is their largest asset, most
Mhm.
people's largest asset. And to think that most realtors will just close the deal, take their commission check and walk down the road and not help them manage that asset down the road is wild to me. I'm like your stockbroker, but for your real estate, I'm going to call you once a year. We're going to go over, make sure you're properly insured. We're going to make sure that if you got anything that you need to be done, I've got all vetted vendors that I can recommend to you. So you don't have to be on Angie's list and all that other crazy stuff. And I just try to continue to provide that value every single year. And that is
And
enough
plus, you
to
stay a
usually-
friend to them. I mean, you're the realtor, but you become a part of their family, which that's a huge piece of it.
Exactly. Yeah, my buddy invited me down to go see Faster Pussycat. They're like a hair metal band, but they're almost like a spoof band. Their songs are funny and closed on a house. And like 4 months later, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to be down at Herman's Hideaway. You want to come see Faster Pussycat?" And I was like, "Let's go, dude." So we meet up with them, and that goes along the lines with your vibe attracts your tribe too. If you're
It does.
unapologetically you, then the people that you're going to attract to do business with you are going to be easier to get along with. They're going to be
It's
people that you
true.
actually want to maintain relationships with instead of feeling like you have to chase this lead and convince them why they want to work with you. That's where the burnout comes from.
It's
So
true.
if I can be successful in real estate with a bald head, a long beard, and a foul mouth, like anybody can do this. You just got to
Yeah,
learn
there's
the
an
business and
audience
be
for
a
all
better
of us in a
advisor.
good way. Yeah. I love it. I think it's the most unique industry ever, which is great. It's a people person, but I really appreciate you, Adam, for your time. And
Yeah, thanks, Kim.
I look forward to connecting at some point.
Thanks for listening to Rewriting Real Estate. If today's episode challenged your thinking or gave you a strategy worth trying, share it. The right move at the right time can change everything. Subscribe and listen in next week for more insight, more momentum, and more ways to grow your business your way.